I just love Mike. I just can't get enough of him and the great work he's doing. I want to go to these calls. I don't think we should make people wait. Cernovich has huge fake news stories exposing CNN. He's got huge news on their whole fake news narrative and how that's all coming down. He's got big White House source news on the next big shoes to drop. He's going to be laying it out today and laying it out again on his own news sites and his own blogs and his own Twitter. But he had to wait. The stuff's so hot because it's so high-level policy that he's got to wait till it's disseminated and then wait. We do this too until it's just about to break from their own sources, but with spin against us so that we head him off at the pass. And so far, he's had really good accuracy in when he releases it. And the media has to admit, even the New York Times, okay, Cernovich has a direct high-level White House source bigger than anything they've got. Well, of course you don't. You're the enemy of America. Cernovich has proven he's real. I, too, if I actually want to have these sources, I have to go to D.C. now. The phone calls are listened to. The phone calls I do have are very thank you, keep it up, we appreciate you. Nothing can be discussed. It's beyond a movie. So Mike Cernovich, wow, you were in D.C. last week. Big stuff going on. Let's hit that in a moment. But first, how big is this CNN implosion? Is this them committing suicide? Is this death watch? Are they finally gone? I mean, they were a shadow of their former selves. Is it a dead cat bounce? I mean, how much devastation can they handle? $100 million lawsuits, admitting they're fraudulent, admitting they're lying. Van Jones, top producers, it's all a lie for money. Take us to the brink of war with Russia. I mean, this is a clear and present danger.
Yeah, it's actually quite beautiful. Jim Acosta has been complaining that, what was the exact thing he said? He goes, how is this America when conservatives are allowed to ask questions in the White House? He tweeted that out, actually.
Think how disconnected. He said that during the hearing. We have video. He said, is this America? Conservatives get asked questions like they're at the table? They have speech? What, I'm this entitled asshole? Excuse me.
Yeah, exactly. The mask has fallen off. And another CNN person, I think Dylan Byers or somebody, had claimed that, oh, it's right-wing people asking about the media. Real journalists, the liberals, are asking about these other subjects. So the mask is off now, and the people are seeing the pure ugliness and the lies of the fake news media and of CNN. I mean, that wall placard is, just perfect. The patriots at the top, the people. We need to add Jeff Zucker to the bottom there, put him down there with George Soros and Cinca and Sean King and Bill Clinton and everyone else.
And then the Playboy writer gets up and says, how dare you report on CNN admittedly getting caught with fake news, retracting 3 different stories, total implosion. They get up and bitch and complain and say, you're causing a problem. Don't talk about it with some whiny wimp. I mean, look at these repeaters. Look at these whores. Look at these nobodies. Look at these soulless husks. Let's put it back on screen. I mean, what a joke. It's an army of morons.
Yeah, that guy actually tried to get violent with me in the White House when I confronted the press reporters and asked them why they won't disavow violence. He followed me out and was putting his hands in my fingers, or his fingers in my face, and was trying to bait me into beating up, essentially, so that he could frame me for a crime. So I've had a run-in with that guy. He's actually a total criminal, total scumbag. If you watch the video I did where I confronted CNN and all the other fake news and go, why will you not disavow political violence?
Well, why is he like chewing on a piece of gum while he talks? I mean, you're saying in your view, he politically trying to frame he would be criminal.
Yeah. So he was, when I went into the White House and I said to the media, I go, why will you not cover political violence on the left? He started screaming at me, actually. Yeah,
I remember.
He's over there on my left, and you can hear him in the original video. He starts screaming at me, like, how dare I come to their sacred place and confront him? And so I don't know if we can see him. No, he's a little bit too far over to the left. But so when I walked out quite peacefully,
these are the most entitled idiots. Like, we were all trying to get out of high school by the time we were sophomores or juniors. They were like trying to hang on to high school, like the guy from Dazed and Confused. All right. They think they're like in the cool club when there's such jokes.
Oh, no, and that was the whole thing. So he follows me out as I'm leaving very peacefully because I knew that they were all going to try to frame me for a kind of crime. And then he comes out, and he gets right in my face. So what I did is I took my hands and I put them kind of like back, like in parade rest, like you would do in the Army, so that nobody could claim that I punched him. And he just screamed and was triggered. He goes, you think you're edgy? I work for Playboy. I'm the edgiest guy in here. Nobody's like me.
There's nothing more uncool than Playboy.
Yeah, right. What a joke. So
you talk about a dried lizard weenie.
Yeah, so he really did say that. The Vice people caught everything, and he screams, "You think that you're on the edge? There's nobody in here like me. I work for Playboy." And I thought, man, this guy is trying to frame me, dude.
Oh my gosh! But he looks like a total moron. And since we mentioned it, then I want to get to your big breaking news. Let's play that clip from Sarah Sanders destroys trendy, super edgy White House dweeby when he tries to defend his fellow fake news journalist. Here we go.
If we make the slightest mistake, the slightest word is off, it is just an absolute tirade from a lot of people in this room. But news outlets get to go on day after day and cite unnamed sources, use stories without sources, have, you mentioned the Scaramucci story where they had to have reporters resign.
Come on, you're inflaming everybody right here, right now with those words. This administration has done that as well. Why in the name of heaven? Any one of us, right, are replaceable. And any one of us, if we don't get it right, the audience has the opportunity to turn the channel or not.
You catch a guy and devil your wife and he turns it around.
To serve
why did you interrupt me?
At least there's no option.
He's acting like, how dare you talk about us, You're being incendiary. We just attack you all day like a bunch of chihuahuas.
To people all over the country who look at it and say, see, once again, the president's right and everybody else out here is fake media. And everybody in this room is only trying to do their job.
Look at the entitlement of these libtards.
I disagree completely. First of all, I think if anything has been inflamed,
who said dinosaurs don't still exist?
The dishonesty that often takes place by the news media.
Can we back that up?
It is outrageous for you to accuse me of inflaming a story when I was simply trying to respond.
That's right. Let's back it up 20 seconds. Because you want to see Diplodocus, Brachiosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, the pterodactyls, pteranodons. You want to see real dinosaurs on TV, kids? Let me show them to you. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the true dinosaurs.
You have been elected to serve for 4 years at least. There's no option other than that. We're here to ask you questions.
Look at them.
You're here to provide the answers. And what you just did.
All right, I'll hit a few phone calls. I'm skipping this break so Cernovich has more time. But, Mike, I know you're going to get more into this later after we take these calls. But prelude here, a little hors d'oeuvre. What's the latest intel from your White House sources?
Oh, and by the way, I did find that video of that crybaby Brian when he threw a fit at me, so I'll play the audio just real quick so you can tell this.
Yeah, hold it up the screen too. Here we go. Yeah, we can't hear that.
Okay.
Send it to Nico. Just text it to him and we'll have it.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I found out the Syria thing, every piece of the puzzle now is kind of coming into place where Nikki Haley is on Twitter trying to start World War III with Iran and with Russia, and I have got confirmation that McMaster is again manipulating intelligence reports coming out of Syria. So that whole chemical weapons attack was a false flag orchestrated by McMaster. There was no planned attack by Assad. That was again McMaster manipulating intelligence, which we reported way back in April that he was going to do this. And while the fake news media has everybody distracted on, as Van Jones said, the Russian nothing burger, McMaster is now feeding, this is treason, he is feeding President Trump invalid intelligence about weapons and chemical weapons attacks. So this was, again, another lie.
And how obvious is it when Nikki Haley tweets 2 days ago, anything happens in Syria, it's Russia's fault? I mean, that's encouraging the rebels to stage a false flag, just like the British ambassador said.
Yeah, she said not only will Assad be blamed, but we'll also blame Russia and Iran. So she is orchestrating World War III, right? It'll also be all blamed on them. And McMaster is orchestrating this again. So the intelligence now coming out of anything to do with McMaster is now being manipulated. Trump is being lied to. And then, of course, other pieces of the puzzle all coming together while everybody's distracted with this goldfish memory stuff of the latest nothing burger is Brian Hook and Margaret Petterling now run and they totally control State Department. They've blocked and jammed the security clearances of every person who might be for America First or might be Trump First. That is how we're letting in terrorists, refugees. That Rex Tillerson does not run State Department. It's actually Brian Hook, who was a never-Trumper, and Margaret Petterling.
Why has Tillerson done that? Because he can be given a free hand on energy? I mean, why? Obviously, a deal's been made with the neocons or whatever to let them continue to stay in there.
Yeah, and Tillerson is actually trying, because he was from ExxonMobil, he's trying to work out some kind of deal with the Russian sanctions. But he didn't. Here's the thing, Alex. This is, again, why it's so frustrating. You know, you're a business person. You run a business. You hire people, and you expect them to do a good job. And even when you're paying people for the work that they do, a lot of times people disappoint you. Well, Tillerson comes in, and he thinks, well, I'll hire Brian Hook and Margaret Pedersen, and they'll try to make America great again, not realizing that they're actually there to subvert and sabotage everything that Trump and he wants to do.
Because they're part of mafia organizations. They're bought and paid for, and they're not going to stop. And that's why Trump cannot co-opt these groups. He has to jettison them.
Yeah, there's been hiring freeze at State Department. State Department is its own little island now. If you ever supported Trump, they actually check your social media. And if you had posted pro-Trump tweets or Facebooks or anything, they won't allow you.
And how can Trump allow? I get the fact he's working all day and doing events to try to do policy. But, I mean, does he get what enemies he's got? Just snakes just spoiling around beneath him?
To a little bit he does. But the degree of sabotage is not something anybody expected, including me. It is quite an accusation for me to claim that the National Security Advisor is manipulating intelligence reports on Syria, but this is true. This is what is actually happening.
Sure, they've sent in heavy artillery, the Marines. It's clearly an invasion of Syria. They've been lying to Trump the whole time. They've defeated ISIS. ISIS is falling. Their last city's about to fall. And so now they wanted to take out Assad. And I know the Assad kind of agreed to have elections once this was done, so he should agree to that. But clearly shooting down aircraft, saying, the Russians now saying if you enter the airspace, we'll shoot you down. This is dangerous brinksmanship.
Exactly. And the reason they want to go into Syria, actually, is because that is one of the few countries in the Middle East where Christianity is allowed, and it's allowed to be openly practiced. So this is a broader part of the left's war on Christianity. They don't care about murdering civilians as long as they can make it so that Christians are persecuted.
How do they control McMaster? Is he actually converted to Wahhabism like Brennan, or is he just a stooge? I've been heard conflicting reports, and a lot of people claim that he is a true interventionist. He's a true globalist, and he's a true believer. He's drunk the Kool-Aid. So they've all told me, they go, McMaster really believes that we can send in troops, bomb people, and that democracies are going to magically spring up. Well, I don't know, nobody wanted that national security job, and then McMaster popped in there, and it's a piece of work. And I agree with you more and more. I think the Kushner thing and Ivanka thing was just been a red herring. I don't think they're the ones in there. I think Trump uses them as more of a PR arm just to take people out to dinner and be nice to them.
No, that's exactly right. And I was the first person to report that the McMaster-Bannon beef, the narrative that has spread, was actually spread by McMaster and Petraeus through KKR. That was grossly exaggerated, and it was planted by McMaster because here's what they do. They want World War III, Russia, Iran. They want boots on the ground in Syria. They want a bigger war in Afghanistan. They want more death, destruction, more Christians murdered, more money for the globalists. They want more destruction. So they get us to focus on, here's the thing I think about Van Jones for a minute is, Van Jones has less editorial freedom than InfoWars reporters, because I know that you don't agree with a lot of things that your reporters have said. We've talked about it, but you've told me, Cernovich, I think journalism means I don't agree with everybody and I have to welcome disagreement. Van Jones doesn't have that freedom. That's
what you've always talked about is, he says basically the whole CNN staff, so does the other producer, hates what they're being told. They feel terrible lying about us and lying about Trump, but they still go along with it.
Exactly. So Van Jones knows the Russia story is a nothing burger, but he is being ordered by Jeff Zucker and the globalists who control CNN to talk about it. They don't have any kind of editorial freedom. And again, that is why I've had a lot of people who they want to be whistleblowers at a lot of these media orgs, but they're afraid of losing their jobs and losing everything. So maybe Van Jones said that on camera as a cry for help.
Well, there's no doubt that the other producer is really freaked out on those tapes and just says, we just lied to everybody. It's horrible. And it's just crazy. Let's take a few phone calls there, and then coming up, I'm going to leave for about 5 minutes. Cernovich is going to break down the latest breaking news. Jeff, Lynn, and Jeff Only time we have for calls. I appreciate you holding. Jeff in Arizona, you're on the air worldwide. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
Good, brother.
Listen, I called today because I just started to realize just how important it is to have a good education system and how important history is to be a part of that. With all the race wars that are being pushed, all this anti-white thing, and they try to justify it as if it's getting revenge on white people for all sorts of crap that went on during the slave trade and all the riots and all the injustices during the 60s and the civil rights movement. It's so important that both sides are shown in school, and I hope they have that soon, because people need to wake up.
Well, let's expand on that. We have big banks taking our rights. We have GMO changing our genetics. We have all this stuff going on, and they just make it about what somebody's great-great-great-great-great-grandpa did, and it's just mental illness. It's just a diversion where people are like into these false paradigms, so they never really figure out how stuff works. They have chips on their shoulders and kind of go around acting all neurotic and weird so nobody can hire them. I mean, really, they're just giving them a psychological wound. Like, a dog you try to pet, it crouches away because it thinks you're going to beat it. They're giving them this psychological trauma that didn't exist. And then the white people that are liberals, they're the high priests that manage the new plantation of all the butt-hurt people. So I think that's really what's going on, Jeff. Let's get Cernovich's take on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new religion. Ultimately, that used to be Gaiaism. They used to worship nature and the woods, and that has shifted now to much more dark religion and dark forces, and now they worship death, and that's why they're so pro-pedophile, and why they're pro-decay, why they're pro-war, why they want to murder children, why they won't talk about the 500,000 Iraqi children with cancer who are dying because of Petraeus and Soros and other globalists. They are the modern-day Death Eaters. They are way worse than the Nazis ever were, because they want to enslave all of humanity and carry on where Hitler left off, but they want to do it to all of the world.
They want protected, institutionalized Satanism. That's what they want. Unbelievable. Jeff, thank you. Lynn, in the great state of Texas, you're on the air. Lynn, thanks for calling.
Hi, Alex. I've been listening to you since you had a radio station, a TV station here in Austin years ago. I guess that was over 20 years ago. And,
yes, ma'am.
I think you've done a great job. I've been listening to you for quite a time now. But my question is, I've been trying to talk to people that are on the left, and it seems almost impossible, because it's like their minds are totally made up. They refuse to listen. I'll give them examples of what Trump's done, and how much progress he's made, and they just don't get it. And
that's because their identity is bound in this idea. So Cernovich, how do you break through to people like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's very frustrating, and that is why I always tell the true patriots that we can never be angry at them. It's like being angry at a child. When my daughter, when she cries or throws something, I just understand that's a toddler, and what are you going to do? That's a baby. They have been brainwashed and indoctrinated from birth. Many of them, in fact, have been enslaved with debt. Student loan debt is a modern form of peonage, is a modern form of slavery. The only way
giving them the bad degree that's worthless is on purpose, so they're totally helpless, and then the system's like, don't worry, be political with us. I mean, it's like pimping a whore. It's like it's getting them into the life of bondage.
Yeah, it is a form of slavery. What they had after the Civil War, of course, was slavery, where you would work your farm and you were technically a sharecropper, but you could never get ahead, or it was like a factory town or something. That is what the globalists are creating. So my advice to people is always, we have to be exemplars of virtue and of goodness. We have to just be kind to these people, because they are walking around, they are enslaved, and they.
That's right. I wouldn't approach it like you're even trying to convince them, because they have an arrogance deal where they think, oh, they're powerful, they're going to ignore you. I would just go, man, I'm really worried about what's happening in the world, and then just lay it out. But God bless you, Lynn. Real fast, Jeff in Montana, in the great state of Montana. Go ahead, Jeff.
This may sound crazy to you, but bear with me as I deliver my message to the enemy and to the ally. To claim the kill to the dragon, the weapon that they use to fill the chalice of the blood of martyrs. Anyone fully affirmed to the mind machine will die. I am the storm under the calm. My name is Darius.
Well, that's very interesting. We're almost out of time. Mike Cernovich, you take over, my friend. The big awakening.
I love the calls. I love to hear.
Okay, well, if you want to keep taking calls, the number's 800-259-9231. We'll send you those numbers. We have our own phone system here soon. We got to get you plugged in where you have the computer heads up with the calls. 800-259-9231. So I guess Jeff just hung up, but he could have come back. Mike Cernovich with his Inside DC Intel straight ahead.
We're on the march. The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
This July 4th, we're having some of the biggest sales ever. Our incredible nootropic Brain Force Plus, 30% off, and now with 20% more in each bottle. Super Mel Vitality, sold out for months. Concentrated herbs that have absolutely changed my life and so many others, 30% off as well. So again, I want to thank you all for your support. I want to thank you for your prayers. You have changed the world. And I want to encourage you to continue to change the world and to accelerate your resistance.
InfoWars is proud to announce the CNN is Fake News Contest, an expansion of the already successful CNN is ISIS contest. The contest is simple. $1,000 prize for anyone who's seen on TV with the CNN is Fake News sign or legible self-made t-shirt. $2,500 prize for anyone who's seen on TV with the CNN is Fake News sign or t-shirt and is also heard to say, CNN is fake news, Infowars.com is real. You can also combine a CNN is Fake News sign with one of our CNN is ISIS t-shirts, available now at InfoWarsStore.com. The intent of the contest is to encourage you, the listener, to realize that you have the power to save civilization from the criminal cabal controlling humanity and its fake news propaganda machine called CNN. The first thing to do is hammer the point to the public that CNN is fake news, which a CNN producer admitted on camera to James O'Keefe and Project Veritas. We need to come together and remind the world that CNN simply regurgitates globalist propaganda thought up by multinational think tanks that is then fed to the public to suppress individual thought and run humanity into a ditch. For more contest rules, visit Infowars.com/contest. This is Kit Daniels.
It's more critical than ever to recommit to financially support the broadcast and to get great products back in exchange. A 360 win. Emmerich's Essentials Outdoor Special. We're talking our non-nano zinc high-powered sunscreen along with Emmerich's Essentials bug spray that's totally organic and natural and works way better than chemical brands I personally use. Help fund this organization that you know has been successful fighting tyranny on every front. We have private labeled it, and it is the exact same product, just the name is different. Emmerich's Essentials. It's on average 20% off. On top of that, if you sign up for auto ship, you get an additional 25% off. Emmerich's Essentials is all about personal care, hygiene, not getting skin cancer, not getting bit by a bunch of bugs and mosquitoes. It's all there. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, and you'll find Emmerich's Essentials. You gotta have the will to accept the truth and buck the system and the group collective. Do that, and you'll earn your way to the next level. This is the InfoWar.
News, analysis, reports. It's the Alex Jones Show. And now, your host, Mike Cernovich.
Actually, take a few calls. Why? Because we love to hear calls. We love to hear from you. We are listener supported. There are big sales going on right now. That's what a lot of people don't understand is CNN has these big billion-dollar advertising budgets. We don't have anything like that. Alex doesn't have anything like that. I don't have anything like that. Emmerich's Essential is on sale right now. We're all going into the July 4th holiday. We all need to wear sunscreen. I have not been doing that well, and I actually noticed a couple little wrinkles. I'm sounding vain now. I'm going to embarrass myself, but I noticed, I'm like, man, you're looking, you got a little wrinkle right here. You know what happened? I used to wear sunscreen every day, but then I read an article that actually most sunscreen you buy is actually toxic and can cause skin cancer. A lot of people don't know that. So that's why you need the Emmerich's Essential, the natural sunscreen. without all the chemicals and goop and other things. So that's why we love to talk to you all the time, because we don't like lip service. There's nothing I hate more. I don't know if you guys ever noticed this before, but when you go to sign up for a gym or you sign up for the internet, when you're not a customer, you're king. Oh, sure, we'll take your call. There's no wait time. Yes, you're great. You're the best. But then the minute you become a customer and you have any kind of customer service issue, suddenly nobody cares anymore. Nobody wants to take your calls. They put you on hold for hours and they won't listen to you. And what happens at InfoWars and me when I run my own shows are that we do want to hear from you. We want you to know that you matter and that you are valuable. Think about it. CNN, they don't take calls. I mean, let's just think about the difference between real news like we do and fake news. We take your calls. Sometimes you yell at us. Sometimes you say, why won't you cover this story? You hold us accountable every minute of every day. With CNN, it's top down. They get on stage and they go, this is what you're going to talk about, and these are the news issues of the day, and this is what you have to believe. And it's brainwashing. It is a form of the occult, a form of church. But as we're now learning, even the high priestesses and high priests like Van Jones and like that CNN producer, even they don't have control over their message. They're being told what to say. Van Jones doesn't want to talk about it. I've always known Van Jones. I thought he's wrong a few times, but I've never thought he was a bad person. I now realize that he is conflicted. He has this good job. He has prestige. He's making a lot of money. He's probably got a family to support. And he is told, you have to lie. You have to sell yourself out. You have to compromise your integrity and say things that you know are not true in order to please our globalist owners, in order to appease Soros and the other people, the warmongers, the Petraeuses, the Saudis. He's a very, very compromised man. So we got some callers here. Let's see if we can get Noreen from Michigan on.
He has a good job. He has prestige. He's making a lot of money.
Is that you, Noreen? Okay, let's try Carol.
Hello? Hello?
Hi, Carol. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. I want to thank you guys. I started watching about a month and a half ago, and I picked up the Z Shield and noticed results within days. So, of course, I bought more of Z Shield. Then I tried the X2. Holy moly. I'm now on the Selenium, the X2, the Z Shield. I'm 57. I feel like I'm 20.
You sound great, actually. You sound like you have a lot of vitality and pop and energy and everything. So maybe I need to get some Z Shield because, man, I've been running hard. So how did you hear about InfoWars?
I tripped across it on the internet.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's really funny, but I want to tell people out there, if you try nothing else, try the Z Shield, try the X2 within a week. I have my husband on it too. I mean, I'm bouncing off the walls. I have so much energy.
You sound like you. Thank you so much for your call. Yeah, there you go. That's the whole thing. That is why sharing the links to Infowars.com is so important. That it's not a bluff. It isn't when Alex says share the links, when I say share the links. We're not bluffing. We're not paying you lip service. There's no advertising budget here. There's no commercials for InfoWars running on network TV. There's no big, massive PR and marketing department advertising everything every day. It is the link sharing. So that is why when people say, how do I support you guys? I really want to help things out, but my money's a little tight. I can't quite do this. The answer is share the links, because as you just heard from Carol, she just learned somewhere on the internet, right? Isn't that beautiful? She just heard about it somewhere on the internet because somebody out there, somebody listening or watching right now shared that link, and that is how we're going to grow. That is how we're going to win, and that's how we're going to keep beating down CNN and all the other media terrorists. Matthew, how are you doing? Matthew.
Hello. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
How are you?
I'm doing okay, sir. I'd like to just say I hope I've been listening to Alex for since 2009. It's great work that all of you guys do. The Patriots are listening. First, I'd like to talk about the canceled news network. No surprise when you look at the Megan Kelly story. It's all the same. It's propaganda that's totally against Trump. They're upset that Trump won and their candidate lost. That's all I got to say about that. The Russia story, need to watch it close. I think we're in enough wars as you know. I kind of agree with Ron Paul. And also, thirdly, I've been waiting to hear. I know Michael Knight has touched on it a little bit. Have you heard of the latest video that's come out about John Podesta and the latest video that just came out on the 26th? It's been circling on YouTube. They've got actual video of him with the Federgate stuff. Have you heard about that yet, sir?
No, I haven't been. I haven't been following around that much, but I know that Podesta had to testify before the Senate in a closed-door hearing, and that'll be interesting. But yeah, there's always something new going on, and I appreciate your call and appreciate that you listen in. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, we had some great callers, and we're going to take some more calls. So if you're on hold, we're going to get to you because I love taking calls. I've done actually on my own show, I've done 100 calls at a time. To me, I can't get enough calls because I learn so much and I hear so much. And even though I don't agree with everything I hear, it's constantly being exposed to new perspectives that matter. So Brian Stelter, Alex and I call him Brian Super, he went on this Twitter tirade. And you want to talk about a pampered little baby. Brian Stelter, he works at CNN. He lives in an apartment. I'm not going to say where it is, but I know for a fact that the rent is $8,700 a month. Just in rent alone. So he's making enough money to pay $100,000 a year just in rent. He's making, $750,000 to $1 million a year. And he goes on this tirade. Trump is being mean to the media. He's being mean to us. He's criticizing us. He's such a mean guy. He's creating hatred. And I thought to myself, have you people ever had a real job? I bet you that there are people listening right now who have roofed. I've roofed, where you're grabbing pallets of shingles, walking up a ladder, hoping you don't fall backward off of the ladder, 110-degree heat. The sun is reflecting off the tar on the roof, and you're burning your neck, sunburn everywhere. Your knees hurt. You're aching. You drop things. Even if you're with friends, you're cussing at each other because you're just so frustrated. And that's real work. What journalism like Brian Stelter is doing, which is even fake news, that isn't real work. Every day that I come into the office, I think, what an amazing job. This is incredible. Now, do people yell at me? Sure. Do my own fans yell at me? Sure. Do people criticize me? Do they call me a sellout because I won't talk about a story they think is important, or they feel like I'm not talking about things? Oh, sure I do, of course. But I've waited tables. Call it, if you've ever worked a real job, call in and let's talk about what a real job is, where you have customers screaming at you. You have a customer that you know that's wrong, and maybe they have a bad day, or maybe they're mad at the world. And what do? They want to take it out on you, and you just have to put up with it, or they'll complain to the manager, and you get fired. And by the way, I've had those kind of jobs where I made $7.85 an hour. That's what I made, $7.85 an hour, and then on the weekend I think I'd make $11.25 or something like that. So for $7.35 an hour, people would come in and scream at me and take out all their problems out on me, and I would just have to say, okay, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Okay, that's great, ma'am. I'm going to call your manager. Right. That's a real job. This is why, of course, CNN, what they don't understand, they're making such big blunders. You never hear me complain about my job, even though I work long hours. I was in Austin with Alex for the Megyn Kelly thing. Flew home for about 12 hours. Then I flew to D.C. Then I had to get up early to go do some work in New York. Then I had to take the early train back to D.C. to meet with the White House. I have all this stuff going on, and I'm not saying, I'm so exhausted. Being a journalist is such hard work. Oh my God, pity me. How dare anybody criticize me or ever give me a mean tweet? All I got to think about is, man, I have to tassel corn. You're waking up at 4 in the morning. I'm probably rambling, but the point is, I've had real jobs. I've grown up out in the country, worked roofed homes and everything, done all the backbreaking labor. So these CNN people like Jim Acosta, Brian Stelter, they're such babies, and there are people who can't even find a job roofing, and that's what they want to do. So every time they go on these tirades and they cry, I'm happy. I'm like this out here, thinking this is amazing. I can't believe how badly they're screwing up, because they're essentially telling everybody who's listening and is struggling or is very hardworking, they're complaining like they come home and they're whining their significant other, not realizing that they look just petty. They look trifling. And that is what the news has become about. There's no gravitas. There's no seriousness. It's just trifling and whining about the most petty complaints that 99% of Americans would, Jim Acosta, how does this feel like America? When the White House take cues from conservatives, then openly trashes the news media. They're openly trashing us. Grow up, bro. This guy makes $500,000 a year. Grow up. You make $500,000 a year, and people say some mean stuff to you. You're crying like this to people who would kill to have the kind of economic, and these people all have trust funds too. So not only are they making $500,000 a year, $1 million a year, they all have trust funds, so they're crying to people. It's just petty, it's small-minded. So let's take a few more calls here. We got quite a few here to take. So let's we'll go to Dovin in Florida. How are you, Dovin?
Hey, how's it going, sir? Renee?
Well, thank you.
Good to go. Yeah, I've actually worked a few jobs, Marine Corps, roofing, construction, security, at a hotel, so I know what you mean about working those long hours, and having to, fulfill a quota in a certain amount of time with as little as possible, and then having to, do that day after day after day after day, and if you don't, there's 10 people willing to replace you, and, so having to keep up with that, it's crazy out there, and a lot of people, they don't have time to click onto the news, and so when they do click onto the news and they hear all this backward stuff, a lot of times they just tune it out, and that's why it's great that you guys are out there putting that alternative message out. No, I don't even want to say alternative, just the truth out there, saying, hey, this is what's really going on. Look, we have, how you guys show everything on camera, here are the documents, all that stuff is so important,
Yeah, thank you. And you actually make a good point, too, which is that, a lot of those jobs I had, if you get fired from it because the customer complained about it, even if that's a very grueling job that doesn't pay well, there's 10 people that'll take it. Whereas if you're in media and you have these white-collar jobs like they have in the media, Jim Acosta, he's fine. This guy, he's set for life. Trust fund, big salary, big severance. If he, the concept of severance, I mean, think about it. Those people at CNN, the 3 fake news reporters, one of whom had won a Pulitzer and one who had got a Pulitzer nomination, they all got their contracts bought out. Boy, where I grew up, if you got fired, that was just it. You had no job. Good luck. I hope you saved money for a rainy day. These people commit journalistic fraud, and they're walking out of the door with checks for $100,000, $150,000. Yet they're going to go on TV and online and complain to people who are barely getting by. You have a comment to that?
Acosta. Well, Mr. Acosta is very evil. I think so, and I hate the fact that I kind of share a name with him. My name is I have Acosta, and I'm Hispanic, so, and I'm a first generation born Hispanic, born here in America. Had to hear stories about how my mother learned English before she even came to America. How she hates that people don't respect that. She learned because she was working for communists like Mr. Acosta, who had to keep their boot on people down there in South America and stuff like that. Those were the power games from Russia and America back in the days when my mom was growing up down there in Honduras. But so I've heard plenty of stories about people like Mr. Acosta, and my mom striving and getting out and learning English and coming to America here legally, with the rest of our family pulling together, putting their lempiras, that's what they call the money in Honduras, putting them together, so each of us could jump over here legally, filling out the documents, learning about the history, everything, it's very important to us. And then my father, who is Cuban, basically came over here with his teeth, basically lost his teeth in prison in Cuba, came over here, and I didn't meet him until later, until I was in the military. I was raised by actually a Puerto Rican who was in the Army and taught me about Americana, all the things that Alex has always said. You guys are always talking about, and the truth, and I always tell people, I encourage people, hey, go on the internet. You can see AJ, with that old school freaking tape recorder out there freaking saying, hey, what about this going on freaking in, the Oklahoma City bombing? Why aren't you guys covering this? Why are you guys talking about this? You guys are covering this up. Getting in their faces when I was a child. He's been doing that since I was a child. And so I just give, mad respect to him and you guys, who are going out there. And I know you guys get threatened and stuff like that because, being in the military, you see all kinds of things. And, freaking, I was actually a Fallujah Marine. So when I was in Al-Assad, before we even went to Fallujah, we were at Al-Assad and a bunch of different other bases. And, you always see the little area where the CIA goes and they take their little guys over. It's always dark and creepy, and you wonder what they're doing over there. Sometimes you get tasked with bringing some guy over there. You get attached to that special platoon that basically supports them. But kind of crazy.
Thank you for the call, and thank you for the support. We're actually heading over to break. But again, another great call. I love the calls. Final segment. I don't know. Why don't we just take more calls? We're going to do final segment. I'm going to take more calls. Thank you so much. I'll see you after the break.
Comey just self-destructed in front of the world. Comey just melted down, and the media is trying to change the subject to Marco Rubio's hair, or, the Russian investigation goes on, this adds weight to it. He said that he's the leaker, and that the New York Times and others got it wrong, what was even in the memo. But I don't know how the media, how the horror media, how the dinosaur media puts Humpty Dumpty back together again, because this, to me, was a bloodbath. Gavin McGinnis, what do you think?
I think it's amazing how the left keeps putting all their eggs into one basket, and then that basket turns out to have a hole in the bottom, and instead of going, I guess I'm wrong, they just move their eggs to the next basket. Like, they pin all their hopes on some giant myth, and then when it doesn't work out, they never scratch their head like a scientist would and go, maybe I'm wrong on this crusade. They just keep going, all right, well, let's put them all over here now. So I don't think they're going to be that thwarted by all this evidence that the James Comey smoking gun isn't the James Comey smoking gun they wanted it to be.
What's happening here is I'm a Democrat appointee. I'm an operative. I've been caught. The Republicans are in power. I'm scared. Just leave me alone. I'm a possum. I'm playing dead. But the truth is he didn't play dead. He went and made up this memo, then perjured himself to Congress 2 months ago, saying nobody tried to influence him. And now on the hot seat again, he's saying no one did order him. So here's the clip of Comey saying he's a yellow belly.
You told the president I would see what we could do. What did you mean?
That was kind of a slightly cowardly way of trying to avoid telling him we're not going to do that I would see what we could do. It was a way of kind of getting off the phone, frankly. And then I turned and handed it to the acting Deputy Attorney General, Mr. Bente.
This is a very important clip. This is, again, where we have Comey coming out and admitting that the New York Times got it wrong in the main about the Russia story. So he's leaking directly to them and the Washington Post, but saying then they got it wrong. Here it is.
That report by the New York Times was not true. Is that a fair statement?
In the main, it was not true. And again, all of you know this, American people don't. The challenge, and I'm not picking on reporters about writing stories about classified information, is the people talking about it often don't really know what's going on, and those of us who actually know what's going on are not talking about it.
No, you just put out memos and leak stuff against the president, and then know full well they're going to twist it and lie about it, and then claim, oh, sorry, jeepers creepers, Gavin McInnes.
I think him and a lot of liberals don't understand that you put all your eggs in this basket and there's a hole in the basket and all your eggs just smashed. And this has happened time and time again, and they just don't wake up.